Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and this time we're talking about my theory for a Nintendo Direct this February. Now, obviously, this is a theory. I do not know what's actually going to happen, so please take this with a grain of salt. We might get a big, super-sized, enormous, amazing Nintendo Direct next week. I would be super excited for that. I'm not expecting it, but it is technically possible. It's also possible we might not get any sort of Nintendo Direct until like the summertime, or perhaps even longer. We don't actually know. But right now, what I'm theorizing is that this February, we'll be getting some sort of Nintendo Direct, be it a general, a mini, or some sort of Zelda Anniversary Direct, something along those lines, that will be exciting for the majority of the Nintendo fan base, and it will give us most of the announcements we need to tide us over at least until the summertime. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm theorizing, and that's what we're focusing on today. Now before we jump into things, let me quickly talk about my social media. There's a Twitter page, a Discord community, a Patron page, and a Twitch channel. If you are interested in any of that, check it all out, it's linked in the description below, and of course, if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe. For some perspective, let's first talk a little bit about the history of Nintendo Directs during the Switch era. In 2017, in January, we got a massive Nintendo Switch blowout with the Switch presentation. It wasn't actually a Nintendo Direct, but it might as well have been, with all the information on new Nintendo Switch games and information on the system itself. But we didn't get an actual Direct for the Switch and other things until April of that year. Moving into 2018, we got a Direct Mini in January, and then a March Nintendo Direct where they revealed Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. In 2019, we got an actual Nintendo Direct in February. But then moving into 2020, we didn't really get much information until late until March with a Direct Mini, not even a general Nintendo Direct. Of course, we didn't get any sort of general Nintendo Direct all throughout 2020. The last time we got one was 2019, but I think the real reason that didn't happen has a lot more to do with the pandemic, which definitely impacts things. That made 2020 a very weird year. We saw the birth of the Partner Showcase, we had some weird sort of directs like the 35th Anniversary Direct, the Monster Hunter Direct, and the Super Nintendo World Direct. It really was just a strange year, and I wouldn't really look too much into 2020 to sort of predict what's to happen in the future, but at the same time, we are still going through that pandemic. I feel like 2021 is going to be a bit of a transitional year in terms of Nintendo going back to a norm in terms of announcing and showing off what they have for their games. In other words, 2021 things are going to get better. Especially considering that a lot of the big Nintendo developers that make games for the Switch came out with games in 2017, and we're now entering 2021 where a lot of those development cycles may be concluding, and there's a lot of big games that we know that are right around the corner, supposedly at least, like the leaked Diamond and Pearl remakes, or Breath of the Wild 2, or Bayonetta 3, or the known quantities such as Monster Hunter Rise and Shin Megami Tensei 5. Point is, 2021 is looking to be a very big year, and a year where Nintendo goes back to a little bit of a norm when it comes to announcing things. So I don't think it's entirely unreasonable to expect that Nintendo might come out with some sort of Direct in the near future. And actually, I am pretty confident in saying that we'll probably get some sort of Direct in January, but not the one I'm alluding to. I'm actually thinking we're going to be getting another Partner Showcase. Why do I think that? Well, the reason I think that is because recently, we actually did see that on the back end of the Direct archive, there was an update. Usually this precedes an actual Direct announcement by a few days or a few weeks. Now, it's been about a week or so since that happened, and we still haven't gotten anything yet, but it could still be another week or two before we see what that amounts to. It may be the case that that's when we get a huge General Nintendo Direct, and that would be super exciting, but I'm really just expecting a Partner Showcase. And the reason why I think it's specifically a Partner Showcase is because in January, Nintendo already focused on Nintendo published games, like new Pokemon Snap. They gave us a new trailer with a release date, and they also talked about Super Mario 3D World with several different trailers outlining all of the new content in that game, including Bowser's Fury. There was no Direct presentations for either of these games. So if they had a January Nintendo Direct planned, they would have saved those games for then, I think. They didn't. However, there is another Nintendo published game that's coming out in February besides 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and that's Bravely Default 2. Bravely Default 2 is the kind of game that isn't being internally developed by Nintendo, but Nintendo is working with Square Enix to get that game on Switch. It is a partner game, the kind of game they'll be shown off in a partner showcase as it has in the past. The game's coming out in February. We need more information on it. So I'm thinking that they will have another partner showcase, which will satisfy that direct archive update, and will also satisfy the need to give us more information on Bravely Default 2 before it comes out next month. But that's not what this video is about. We are not talking about a partner showcase. We are talking about something a little bit more exciting. And I think that's coming in February. Could be wrong, of course, but I am optimistic that something's coming. Why though? Well, at the very least, I feel pretty confident in saying we're getting some sort of Pokemon information. Why Pokemon? Because, historically speaking, we get news for Pokemon early in the year every single year, and if it doesn't happen in January, you know what that means, right? That means that they're gonna have a Pokemon Day Direct, and actually, according to Central Pokemon Leaks, a website which has leaked other things in the past such as Sword and Shield information, they're saying that for Pokemon's 25th anniversary, they're going to be revealing Diamond and Pearl remakes. And in case you didn't know, Pokemon Day is the anniversary day for Pokemon, so yes, at the end of next month, there will be a 25th anniversary celebration of some sort, potentially including Diamond and Pearl remake announcements, which I think is fairly likely. I actually had a video talking about all the reasons why I think it's happening, so if you're curious, you can check that video after this one. It'll be in the end card, probably. But again, I'm not just talking about a Pokemon Direct. I'm talking about something that is appealing to the majority of the Nintendo fan base. Pokemon is mainstream and it appeals to a lot of people, but it is definitely not something that I would say appeals to the entirety or the large majority of the Nintendo fan base. It's just a portion of the Nintendo fan base. I think there's something else that will probably appeal to a large portion of the fan base. Which brings us to another strong possibility, some sort of Zelda anniversary news. Now recently a lot of people have been buying into the idea that we'll have to wait until the end of the fiscal year before Nintendo starts talking about Zelda anniversary plans. And the reasoning for that is because a lot of the anniversary celebrations for Mario's 35th anniversary are set to expire or end by this March, which is in time for the end of the fiscal year, and at that point people are thinking that Nintendo will then move on to start talking about Zelda. I wish I could just outright deny that as a logical conclusion, but it is logical, it is possible, and that may be what's happening. But I'm inclined to think that they won't do that exactly in that way. Just because Nintendo has ongoing celebrations for one big franchise doesn't mean they can't do it for another. We're already seeing Pokemon Company overlap with Mario's 35th anniversary celebrations, but of course Pokemon Company does sort of do things a little bit separately from Nintendo, even though Nintendo does own part of Pokemon. But even this past December, we had a Fire Emblem anniversary announcement as well. So I don't think it's out of the question that Nintendo can have other anniversary announcements. I'm actually thinking there are going to be multiple anniversary celebrations all throughout 2021. For Zelda, for Pokemon, potentially for Metroid, and Donkey Kong. There's going to be several things throughout the year that are going to sort of tie into major anniversaries. But something that I think bodes well for my personal theory in terms of us getting Zelda information is because when Nintendo decided to give us that trailer, there was a full blowout for Bowser's Fury. On that day, they also gave us several other announcements for Mario's 35th anniversary, seemingly the final major announcements for Mario's 35th anniversary, including that red and blue 35th anniversary color scheme Nintendo Switch. To me, it feels like Nintendo's getting all of these announcements out of the way so they can start focusing on something else. Just because the anniversary celebration events and sales are expiring at the end of March doesn't mean they're going to be marketing and pushing them to the same extent. I think once 3D World plus Bowser's Fury comes out on February 12th, Nintendo will start transitioning into something else. 9 days later, after the release for 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, is actually the 21st of February, which is Zelda's 35th anniversary. About a week and a half is about enough time, I would say, to sort of market out 3D World as it's being sold to different people, and give us a little bit of time before we jump into the next big thing that they're going to be talking about. And obviously that next big thing is Zelda, because that's the Zelda 35th anniversary time. I think we could be getting news about Zelda around that time, and then they will start talking about their Zelda 35th anniversary plans. Now, they may not fully blow it out in the same way they did for Mario, and actually even with Mario, there are announcements made after the 35th anniversary direct, such as that red and blue Mario Switch. But I do think there's a strong chance we'll start getting some sort of announcements for Zelda in February on the 21st, or at least around the 21st. So maybe we get a Zelda Anniversary Direct and they give us a confirmation of Breath of the Wild 2 coming out for holiday 2021, and they also announce a Zelda Anniversary Collection or some eShop releases or a Skyward Sword HD for the first half of 2021. I think there's a strong chance of that, and those announcements could help tide things over until the summer. We're getting a big major third-party release for Monster Hunter Rise this March, and then new Pokemon Snap in April. Maybe we get a Skyward Sword HD in May, and then by that point, we'll have enough fairly large, big game releases to tide things over until the summertime, where Nintendo may be ready to announce other really cool, exciting things. But I would argue that that's not quite enough. I think we need a little bit more than that, which is why I'm not necessarily thinking we're getting a Zelda Direct. While I would love to see that, I think it's a possibility, maybe we see something a little bit different. Because you see, after February, all we have is Monster Hunter Rise and new Pokemon Snap in terms of really big things that Nintendo's pushing in advertising here. Monster Hunter Rise isn't internally developed by Nintendo at all. That's not something they're even publishing. This is a Capcom game, a major third-party release that Nintendo's helping to market here, but it's not actually Nintendo. Nintendo may want to have something else come out around the March time as well. And then going beyond that, all there is new Pokemon Snap, which is definitely being published by Nintendo, but also Pokemon Company, and it's not coming out until April. I don't really think that's enough to tide things over until the summer. I think Nintendo's gonna have to make more announcements for published Nintendo games to come out between now and whenever they're ready to have like some sort of big summer blowout of information. And I feel like February is the right time to do that. Once we're done with Bravely Default 2 and 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, there's not much else beyond just Monster Hunter Rise and new Pokemon Snap. I feel like that's the right time to start talking about other things. You don't want to just wait until there's nothing. You want to start talking about things before then. Sure, Nintendo sort of did that last year, but last year was a very, very unique situation. It was an aberration. We shouldn't look to that as the prime example of how things will be done moving forward. It was the exception, not the rule, not the pattern. And actually, if you look at the way Nintendo's been handling things for the beginning of 2021, they are announcing things with a little bit more time in between. We got new Pokemon Snap announced for the end of April in January. That's more than a 3-month window here, which I'm fine with. That seems to be a bit more normal. So it wouldn't surprise me if in February they start announcing things for May and June, because that would make sense, because they want to have a couple months in between announcement and release. They are moving past that very strange style of announcing things just weeks beforehand. That was a unique pandemic sort of setup, I think. I think moving forward, Nintendo will start going back to more of a norm where there's a bit more of a normal gap between announcement and release. So to me, the timing really makes sense for a direct mini or a major direct or a first party direct or some sort of Zelda direct to happen in February, because the timing sort of works out because of the other games we know about that are coming out this year, or the games we don't know about that are coming out this year. At the very least, we're getting a Pokemon Direct. There's a good chance of Zelda news, and regardless if we do get Zelda news, there is a need to start talking about things, and based off the way Nintendo's been handling their other announcements, it does look like Nintendo is having more of a normal announcement to release sort of gap here. And considering there's not much else beyond Pokemon Snap, they're going to need to start announcing other things. And from everything we understand and we've been talking about and thinking, 2021 is supposed to be a really, really big year. While the beginning of 2021 isn't bad, they're going to need to make a lot more announcements if they're going to be fulfilling that notion of 2021 being a big year and a foil for 2020. So what do you guys think? 2021 is off to a fairly good start, but I do think there is a need for more announcements, and I do feel like a direct should probably happen around the February or March time, but I'm theorizing February. Do you guys agree with me, or do you think we'll have to wait a little bit later? Or could it be sooner? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.